Today I'm going to see if I can transform this old Dunlop Crybaby into my dream wah pedal. Have you ever had a sound in mind that you can almost get from your guitar pedal, but not quite? Well, that's where I am with this. It's a 1994 Dunlop GCB-95, one of the most iconic wahs ever made, used on countless songs, and it's one of my favorites to use. But lately I've been after a different kind of sound, something that's a bit smoother and a bit mellower, but still full and punchy. Just less of a crybaby and a bit more of a chill baby. So I went digging through a bunch of old forums and websites and I found 4 mods that I think can turn this into my perfect wah pedal. And to help get this right, I reached out to Chris from R2R Electric, who's built tons of vintage style wah circuits over the years and other really cool pedals.
If you're modding a wah and can only do one thing, that's by far the way to go.
So here's the plan. I want a warmer, more vintage style wah with better control and expression, but still plenty of bite to keep that classic crybaby character. So I'm replacing some components to smooth out the sound and warm up the tone, upgrading the stock potentiometer for a classic style control, and replacing the inductor for a more vintage voice. But that's not all. While it's open, I'm also adding a few quality of life upgrades as well, like a true bypass switch, an LED indicator, and a completely new exterior using some vinyl wrap to make it feel 100% custom to me. Once all of that's done, I'm going to compare it to this brand new Crybaby so you can hear the differences for yourself. So I've got all my parts and I'm ready to go, but just a heads up that modding your pedal will void the warranty. With that said, let's void the warranty. And I'm starting by setting up my gear and completely taking the pedal apart. Once I've got everything stripped down, I'm going to start with by far the most popular mod that I saw online, the vocal mod, which I asked Chris more about.
Oh yeah, so that's one of my favorites. It honestly does the most heavy lifting. If you're modding a wah and can only do one thing, that's by far the way to go.
And it's just changing this resistor.
So the value they have in there is a 33K. It's technically, if you're looking at a schematic, it's R7, or the 7th resistor in the circuit. Basically, it sets the sharpness of the resonant peak. The lower the value is, the more it smooths out a little bit. The higher the value, the sharper that peak gets. That's basically what it's doing. It's just kind of changing that peak as the wah is going through its sweep.
So I just have to desolder and remove the existing resistor. But when I took it out, I noticed something a little bit odd. So I've just pulled out this resistor, which is the one next to the inductor, which everyone online says should be R7, or at least this is the one that we take out for the vocal mod. But if you look at the PCB, it says R5. Now, I'm pretty sure that this is the right resistor because the banding on it shows that it's a 33K resistor, and that's the one that we're replacing. So I'm pretty sure it's right. Worst case scenario, I just have to get another resistor and then pop it back in there, but we'll see how it sounds. Now I just need to install the new resistor, and I've gone for a 68K because that will increase the peak just a little bit to get that vocal sound, but it shouldn't sound too harsh. Now, in order to make sure that everything's working properly and to test it, I just need to hook everything back up. So that was a really easy mod. I can't hear a massive change yet, but I did go for the subtler 68K resistor. But next up, we've got the frequency shift, which is switching this capacitor right here.
So a 0.01 is what's stock in there. The most popular one is to double it to a 0.022. It's going to let in some more mid-range. It does change the overall frequency response to a bit more mid-present as opposed to treble. I usually either stick with the 01 or an 015. I feel like that's one of my favorite values to put there.
So I went for the 015, but I nearly made a huge mistake. So that's the capacitor that I'm putting in. This is the one that I bought first by accident because I messed up a decimal place. So there is no way that was going to fit in there. So luckily I've got the right one now. Again, this was another really simple swap, just desoldering the old one and putting in the new one. I connected everything back up again, mostly just to check that everything was still working right. Alright, it works. Not broken it yet. But while I was taking it apart, I realised that I needed a slight change of plan. It looks like I might as well do the pot, the switch, and the LED all together. So I'm going to finish off the inductor, and then I'm going to wire everything up, and then try it all together at the end. However, I'm not looking forward to doing this. That is a lot of desoldering. So it was time to replace the inductor, which I'd heard a lot about online, but truth be told, I didn't exactly know what an inductor did.
An inductor is just a coil. It's like a transformer or anything else that's literally just wire wrapped around some kind of metal. I feel like a more desirable inductor, you hear more harmonic overtones. It's something that I've definitely noticed. I feel like the aftermarket Fizel inductors tend to smooth out, make it a little bit more vocal, and they kind of mellow that peak out. It doesn't go away. Like, they don't knock it down. It just feels a little less brittle.
So we've got to desolder these, and then I have to clear these two solder holes so the new Basil can sit in there, because it's a slightly different type or design of inductor. As tough as the desoldering looked, it actually wasn't that bad. I kind of found my groove with it by this point, and the inductor came out quite easy. I did have some trouble with these helping hands though. I'd definitely recommend getting ones with some more flexible arms, but I managed to make it work. Now interestingly, it looks like more modern Crybabies actually come with a phasal inductor installed. Once it was in, I was getting ready to do the true bypass switch, but I realised I need to make a big change. So a little bit more work to this than I thought. I'm going to take out the input buffer section, and then that's needed to wire in the true bypass properly. I could put it in and leave this section and wire it in a slightly different way using that, but as I understand it, the vintage pedals didn't have an input buffer as well, so it's staying true to what I'm trying to do with this pedal. Once again, this meant more desoldering for me, but once it was out, I wired in the new signal input, ground, and power leads. Now it was time for the pot swap, and I'd made the slightly risky choice of a 200k pot, which is much larger than the standard 100k.
So the pot, if you change that larger or smaller, that changes the range of the sweep. So basically it shortens or widens the range of the sweep. If you increase the value, it gets wider and wider and wider, and that you lose that kind of little sweet spot where you get all that action because it widens it out so much. The kind of this magic number is about 100k. Depending on the taper, that has another huge impact on it.
And this new one had an iCar taper, which again, I didn't know too much about.
So iCar, it was a brand of potentiometer, kind of like CTS or Centralab. It was an Italian brand of potentiometers that was made in Italy, which is where the first wahs were manufactured. They had a very specific taper because of the fact that it's such a short throw. They needed all the taper to happen and basically right there in the middle. So when somebody says iCar, they're talking about a specific taper, basically.
So I had a tight taper because of the iCar style, but a wider throw because of the 200k value, so I was getting a little bit nervous about how it would sound. But I'd have to fit the new switch and LED before I could hear it, so I followed a true bypass wiring diagram and got everything hooked up. there was a problem. Nothing worked anymore. Right, you can see that I've been through quite a few LEDs, and I think it's because I was using the wrong size resistor. I was using a 470, whereas what I've done now, I've put in a 10K from the input buffer that I took out earlier. So it works. It's a little bit dim, but it works. I'll take it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everything back together in its casing so I can hear if everything's working properly, which hopefully it is. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. So with all the electronic mods done, I prepped the case ready for its cosmetic finish and packed everything up, getting ready for day 2. Starting off strong, I realised that I didn't have the proper tools to remove the treadle, so I had to smack it a bunch with a screwdriver. That was really tricky. Then I finished prepping the case ready for the vinyl wrap. With everything ready, I marked up where I needed to drill the LED hole and then got to drilling. This honestly took me about 45 minutes and cost me 3 snap drill bits. I found the trick was to drill slowly. I then added a countersink to match the input and output jacks. Now it was wrapping time, and it was actually pretty fun once I got used to it. It'd be much easier on a regular box style pedal though. The inspiration for this colour scheme is a mix between the Joe Bonamassa signature Crybaby and the bass Crybaby, and I thought it'd be cool to mix the two. Cutting out the holes was pretty stressful, but also really satisfying as well. Then I just had to reassemble everything. During reassembly, I scuffed up the vinyl in some places, which is unfortunate. And with that, my custom Crybaby was complete. I felt on top of the world and nothing could possibly bring me down. I have some bad news. I just finished everything. I just got it sounding great. I went to super glue the little bit there, like an extra foam bit on there so it can push the switch down, and some glue got into the switch itself and it's stuck and I can't unstick it. Yeah, that really sucks. So I gave up. Then decided to fix it. I ordered a new switch for next day delivery and on day 3 replaced the old one, which was completely broken. I also used the opportunity to tidy up some of the wiring because it's a little bit messy on the inside. Once it was done, I did one final test. So I'm not a massive fan of the sweep of the new pot, so I'm going to change it back to the original Hot Pots 2. And basically the sweep is a lot narrower on that, so I'll get more of a wah effect, but it also means that I can dial back the pot just a little bit so I can take off some of that high end. And with that, I was finally done, for real. So did I create my dream wah pedal? Well, no. There's a lot of dead space in the heel position, and that means that the sweep isn't as smooth as it could be. And also there's this really awful resonance sound round about here that you probably heard in the example. It just blows everything out and makes it sound super distorted, which isn't great. Also, the LED has somehow stopped working already, and you can see that the vinyl is already looking worse for wear. It's peeling quite badly. But it's definitely heading in the right direction. You could hear that side by side. This sounds a lot warmer and a lot more mellow. It just needs a little bit of fine tuning. Like I said, that resonant peak that just blows everything out is really holding it back, so I'm looking forward to fixing that. And there's a few more mods that I found as well while doing this video that I think I might want to add on here as well. So let's call this the Crybaby Mark 1, and I can make those mods in another video. But until then, I just want to thank Chris again for all his help. That was really, really useful, and you can check out his store in the description down below. I've also linked the resources that I used for this project and a couple of the parts that I used to make this as well. And I also really want to thank you for watching. This has been quite a long video, not in terms of just length, but also the amount of stuff that I've had to do to make it. I actually started filming this probably about 3 months ago, so quite a long one for me. So thank you for sticking around. I really hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.